Hi, Garrett Stuckey here with the Startup 360 podcast, where I sit down with startup founders and interview them on a 360 camera. So you can watch this on a VR headset and get a truly immersive experience. Please do me a favor, subscribe on YouTube, give us a like, share with your friends, and if you want to get a hold of me, Garrett at startup360podcast.com or 734-274-9521. So today I have Assam with Intvo. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here at the Startup 360 broadcast. So it's an honor to be here and talking to you as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and Intvo and.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with kind of myself as a background. So my name is Assam. Actually, I went to University of Michigan, Dearborn. I graduated from University of Michigan, Dearborn in 2017 and bachelor degree, focusing on software engineer. After that, I kind of started my career working in the automotive space. So I started working for some small companies, and then I moved on to Denso. It's one of the big automotive suppliers.
Yep.
So that's how kind of I started my career working in the automotive space and exploring this amazing market. So I started working in the R&D at Denso, and it was amazing for me to start exploring and thinking, about autonomous vehicle. And it was my first time experiencing working in the autonomous space, because I have not worked in any space, especially for a new technology like autonomous.
Yeah.
So I started working with my team over there at Denso, exploring and working in the computer vision for the autonomous vehicle. And the ultimate goal is how can we develop like a level 2 to level 3 autonomous vehicle that is able to navigate in urban environment and also in freeway environment as well, to help prevent any accident on the road. So that was the ultimate goal. And after working at Denso for a few years, I started traveling. After I left Denso, I started traveling to different places, and I traveled to New York City. And from an engineer perspective, somebody like me who's been working in the automotive space, I started to think, well, what would be like a fully autonomous vehicle in the future, and how this autonomous vehicle will help and impact our life, and what are the challenges these autonomous vehicles will face along the way to become a fully autonomous vehicle. And one of the things I start to notice is actually by just walking as a pedestrian, walking on the street is actually becoming really dangerous. And I actually also think about it as a driver. From a driver perspective, sometimes drivers are distracted as well when you're driving a vehicle. And think about as well, pedestrians are really distracted nowadays. So we have a distracted pedestrian and we have a distracted driver. So that's a deadly combination. And thinking of autonomous vehicle, it's a good technology, it's an amazing technology that can help prevent these accidents. But this technology is not at that level of kind of achieving human intelligence, achieving the level of preventing these accidents.
Yeah.
So that's how we start thinking, okay, well, what can I do as an engineer person that been in an autonomous vehicle? What can I do to help improve the safety for our resident in Michigan and different states? And then I start looking and searching, what is the main obstacle that right now the autonomous vehicle is facing, and then we start noticing, of course, is pedestrians. They're the one who's the main problem. And then thinking from an engineer technical perspective, well, whatever are we doing right now, is it enough to understand and predict or maybe detect a person or understand where they're going? And then I start thinking, well, there's like a lot of obstacles that we have to kind of overcome. And I think the current system right now in autonomous space are doing the perceptions, which is kind of detecting an object, understanding what is the object, is that a pedestrian, is that a vehicle, and then kind of classify this object and also tracking this object as well. But this information is limited, so this information it's not enough. So actually we start thinking, well, how can we build a software that using machine learning that enable to predict? It's not just only detecting, it's also predicting, understanding your human body, understanding your behavior while crossing the street. And that's how actually Intvo was created. Intvo was created to mainly discuss a less, kind of address a subject which is surrounding the autonomous vehicle, which is pedestrians. And pedestrians are unpredictable when they cross the street. So it's really difficult to predict where they're going and where they're looking at, and what is the next step they will be taking. So this is kind of very challenging for an autonomous perspective, and that's how we started the company, is focusing on the behavior predictions for the autonomous vehicle and helping preventing these accidents.
Gotcha. So your primary focus is on the pedestrian and how do these autonomous vehicles predict what those pedestrians are going to do.
Correct.
So it seems like you almost got hit by a car because you were distracted in New York.
Well, actually, yes, I've been in, when I was in New York, when I traveled to New York, actually I was just walking, and actually the environment in New York is different than here in Michigan. I just started walking in New York City, and it was my first time in 2017, just kind of walking in New York. And actually I noticed that, normally pedestrians in New York actually don't even kind of follow the law by waiting for the traffic light to cross the street. Normally they just don't wait and they just start crossing. And for me as a pedestrian, been living here in Detroit all my life, and we normally wait for the traffic light before we're being crossed. Yeah. So I noticed that people actually don't even wait. So and I start behaving the exact same behavior as they do, and actually it started kind of thinking this is really different cultural behavior. So going from city to city, from country to country, the behavior will be changed totally different. And how can we help to improve the safety for not only just an autonomous vehicle, but also for the current vehicles right now on the street?
Wonderful. Yeah, because I've noticed with pedestrians, even so we're here in Ann Arbor, but like right on campus, very much like New York, you just kind of go, but in other places in Metro Detroit, it's you might want to wait for that car to drive past.
Yeah, and actually Detroit ranking number 1 in pedestrian day around America. So it's actually Detroit. It's getting better. It's an amazing city, but as I said, I think one of the main problems that causing to this is sometimes drivers are not familiar with the city of Detroit. Yeah. And then they just start driving in the city of Detroit, and then sometimes accident can happen. And also the other thing is I would say the weather condition here in Michigan is totally different than in different states. Yep. And also especially as a driver, when you drive at night, that's another problem, because sometimes you cannot see. Yeah. When you drive a vehicle, sometimes it's really difficult to see who's around the vehicle, and how can you start taking action before you causing any accident. So that's another big issue that any current system right now is facing. And also think about it from a human perspective. When you drive a vehicle, sometimes you may not be able to see some even at night, and that's why there's many companies right now are working to develop some sensors that will able to see at night, can bring to human vision. Think of it as a LiDAR. LiDARs can see better at night, and these kind of technology can help to prevent accident. And we believe this technology has a really high potential that can improve the safety for pedestrians in Ann Arbor City or in Detroit and other states as well. Nice.
So your software then. So obviously you're learning how pedestrians become distracted and how they interact with traffic. Now, does your software get is it loaded onto the cars? And when it's loaded, are you still learning? Let's kind of dive into that a little bit. Sure. How does this play out?
So, it's I guess talking about how can we integrate our software that can help to be integrated to the existing vehicle or to the future vehicle that can be developed in the near future. The way we're doing this is by actually working with automotive suppliers. Okay. Because thinking about autonomous company, we're not the one who's developing a fully autonomous vehicle. Yep. We're only a software company. So we are the one who's building a piece of the software. Yep. That goes into an existing vehicle, or it goes into autonomous vehicle. So our business model is working with these automotive suppliers, thinking of as a Bosch, or maybe Denso, or Continental, or Autolib, or Magna. So these are big automotive suppliers. So we interact with these automotive suppliers. We work with them because they're the one who already developing the piece of the software for the perceptions, what we're doing is we're coming in and introducing the prediction side, which is a second layer after the perceptions. This layer is helped to improve and provide more information about the human behavior on the road. So yes, as I mentioned, so we're adding a layer that goes into the existing vehicle for like a level 2 or level 3 ADAS product. But also we do work with kind of autonomous companies. Like there's a large of companies right now are building a fully autonomous vehicle. Think of us as an OT. Actually, there are our next potential customer that we're starting to interact with.
Okay.
Another customers can be Argo AI. These guys are the one who's building kind of the fully autonomous vehicle, and they are our potential customers as well. I mean, OEMs, we do interact with OEMs because it's a good idea to start understanding the problem they're also facing.
Yep.
And how can Intvo help to kind of increase the safety for the autonomous vehicle. But as I said, our main target are the automotive suppliers because they're the one who would be the easier way to interact with. They're the one who's providing the entire software to the OEMs, and they're the one who's helping in integrating the system to the vehicle.
Okay, that makes sense. And so right now, it seems that a lot of other related companies are focused just on, okay, there's a pedestrian,
Correct.
and say we see it, so once they jump into the street, then we're going to stop this car. But you're coming in and saying, hey, this jerk looks like he's going to jump into the street, you should slow down earlier. Okay.
So technically, think of it as like that. So let's just go back a little bit. Think about it as a human driver.
Yep.
So normally, from a human driver perspective, when you drive a vehicle, we are very intelligent people. We know exactly and how we act and kind of take actions quickly.
Yep.
Because our brain can process this data very quickly, then can bring it to a machine.
Mm-hmm.
From a driver perspective, when you drive a vehicle, you know that's a person.
Yeah.
You know that's a car. You know if that's a cat or a dog. So you know this object,
Yes.
the vehicle. But also, we know where these people are going. We can know exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
So we can predict where they're going next. So as I said, human has a very intelligent brain, so we know this information. But now start thinking autonomous vehicle. How these autonomous vehicle will act and react in these kind of scenarios. How would they take actions? Think of it as like a child. A child may be throwing his ball, and then he start running toward the ball to go catch the ball in the middle of the street. If you're a driver, as a human driver, you know that's a high risk, and you know that you need to prepare to stop.
Yep.
Because that kid is running after the ball, he wants to go catch the ball. But what if this was an autonomous vehicle? Autonomous vehicle will say, oh, this is an object. I will stop the moment I get so close to that object, and that risk is really high, and probably you may end up causing an accident in that scenario because you don't understand where that person is going. You don't understand what is that person exactly is doing.
Yep.
Is he going after the ball to catch that ball or someone like that? So that's what we're trying to do is how can we bring kind of intelligent system, not just only understanding the object, what is the object, but also understand what they're doing and what is the behavior that is causing that person to go after the ball, to try to catch the ball. So that's exactly what we're doing is trying to build a system and a software using artificial intelligence to help to prevent these accidents. And that's kind of the pure focus is helping increase the safety for our residents here in Ann Arbor and different cities as well.
Wonderful. So how are you collecting this data? It seems that you need to have your software either on these cars or be spying on pedestrians. What does that look like?
So we don't spy on pedestrians, but actually we actually have cameras on vehicles. So we already have cameras that we install on vehicles. And these cameras actually, we have people are driving these vehicles around the city. For example, here in Ann Arbor, we have vehicles that is driving around in Ann Arbor. Especially here in Ann Arbor, it's a really crowded environment.
Yep.
It's like think about around the city of University of Michigan. There's many pedestrians actually crossing, and sometimes they don't even just wait. They always cross as well. But also we do have vehicles also that drive also in the city of Detroit because as I mentioned, Detroit is actually ranking one of the top cities for pedestrian death. But we don't just only focus on only Michigan, but also we do drive in different cities like Ohio, Chicago, New York, and we do drive vehicles in this kind of location to continue gathering data. And the reason we're doing this, why we're going from city to city, why we're going collecting data from country to country, well, the reason we're doing this is because it's a different cultural behavior. The behavior will be different from city of Ann Arbor person who's walking to a person who's walking in the city of Detroit to a person who's walking in California. So the behavior may be different. Also think of it if you travel to different countries.
Yep.
People in these countries really behave totally different.
Yep.
The way sometimes they start waving at you, it means different.
Yep.
Comparing to somebody here in the United States who start waving at the vehicle. So it's a different culture. So we're trying to understand this kind of different culture and understand how we can predict and how our system can also be able to predict this behavior from city to city. And also in terms of data collections, we actually have a partnership with Tata. It's a kind of transportation system in Toledo, Ohio. So we have a bus system. These bus systems are actually running all day, and they're the one who's picking up pedestrians, picking up people. And we have our software and our cameras already installed in the bus system, and these buses are actually running all day. Imagine 12 hours a day running, and we are collecting data.
Oh, great.
So that's a massive amount of data that we're actually collecting. After we collect that data, we take this information and go back to our lab, and then start analyzing this data, and then start learning and teaching our system, teaching our model how to learn based on different behaviors that we're looking for. So yes, data is actually one of the most critical piece of information that you need for any software company who's using machine learning. Data is critical because data is the way that you are teaching the model to learn.
Yep.
Think of it as kind of a machine. I mean, we always think of a machine learning as like a baby, and a baby always when they're a kid, they start learning, they start getting so much data, start learning about the surrounding environment.
Yep.
But if this is a machine, and today you want to teach that machine to learn something about like an object, learn something about the behavior, then you have to feed that machine with a lot of data.
Yes.
That can learn based on that data, and then it can do the predictions from this kind of data. So data is so much critical for machine learning.
And so you mentioned, so you're going to differentiate based on location is the goal as well. So kind of, I guess, combining almost like a GPS type thing. So I know if I'm the autonomous vehicle, right, and I'm in downtown Ann Arbor on campus, I'm more likely to see a pedestrian just keep walking than if I'm in the suburbs or something like that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, so the environment, it's totally different. Like if you're driving a vehicle, like for example, think of it as a regular vehicle right now. When you drive a vehicle in the freeway, normally you understand there's not many pedestrians on the freeway.
Yep.
That's normal. But once you start driving your car in this an urban environment, like here in Ann Arbor, you start being more cautious. Like you start being more, prepared to stop because you know that there's many pedestrians are actually surrounding your vehicle, and you need to be careful. So yes, driving autonomous vehicle or driving that vehicle from environment to different environment will change the kind of I would say the caution for the vehicle. Like for example, if you're driving this vehicle in Ann Arbor, that vehicle needs to be very careful driving in a little bit slower speed than the normal when you're driving a freeway, because you need to be careful that you don't have time to take action.
Yes.
To kind of stop.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a more timing to stop the vehicle. So yes, the environment has a bigger impact on any autonomous vehicle. Right now it's kind of currently developing.
What other factors are you finding that are impacting distracted pedestrians? Mm-hmm. So the other, I think like the obvious example is a cell phone. Are there other examples that you're finding, especially the ones that are surprising to you, maybe that you wouldn't have thought of before you started?
So actually, I mean, as you just said right now, yes, cell phones, this technology having a big, kind of problem for the pedestrian distractions. Yep. So cell phones are the biggest problem for distractions. But we look at different things that causing distractions. Well, think of it as sometimes people, when they are in a group and they start talking to each other, And some people, they just start talking to each other, people crossing the street, and they don't even look. So,
Yep.
maybe having somebody next to you will impact your level of distraction. So you become more distracted because you're not paying attention to what's around you.
Yep.
You're more paying attention to the person next to you because he's the one who's talking to you, and you're paying attention. So accident can happen from that perspective. As I said, there's another thing that can cause a kind of distraction. Sometimes you might be holding an object, and it's a bigger object that you're holding in your hand, and that object may be blocking the view of you, from looking around the vehicle. So yes, that has an impact as well. So it may cause you not to pay attention to what's around the vehicle.
Now, I know right now you're focused on pedestrians. It seems that it's not a far jump to predict how other drivers are driving.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to have this kind of time, where we'll have human drivers and autonomous vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys looking at that now? Is that like a future roadmap?
So that's a very good question. So pedestrian, I would say driver behavior. It's another subject that we're actually looking into because driver behavior will be different from an autonomous vehicle behavior.
Yep.
So currently we're purely focusing on predicting and understanding the vulnerable road users. So we can call them like a disabled person, like a child, an adult. So that's our pure focus currently.
Yep.
But yes, we're definitely going after understanding the driver behavior.
Yep.
And actually driver behavior can be a little bit tricky because you don't see the driver. You just only see the vehicle. And you have to kind of detect the vehicle and understand where that vehicle is going and how that behavior is affecting on the driver. Sometimes driver really maybe kind of using a cell phone and talking on the phone while driving, so their behavior will be different than somebody who's really paying attention to the road.
Yeah.
So yes, that's definitely the kind of the next target that we're going after. But at this time, we're purely focusing on understanding pedestrians' behavior right now because they're the biggest obstacle right now that is causing problem for autonomous perspective.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you've been working with the Toledo bus system. What other partnerships do you have lined up? Or
Yeah, I mean, today actually I would like to announce that we're actually launching a pilot with Umtree. It's the University of Michigan Transportation Institute. They actually have a big network here in Ann Arbor and from a connected vehicle. They have over 2,500 vehicles in the city of Ann Arbor, and these vehicles actually are equipped with the DSRC communication that allowing to communicate between a camera that is already equipped on the infrastructure communicating with the vehicle. So the current system the Umtree has right now is just detecting pedestrians using camera on infrastructure.
Okay.
And these kind of detect where they are within the road, within the environment, and then can send signal, safety message to the vehicle telling that vehicle that somebody is planning to cross the street. So what we're doing here is working with Umtree is we're coming in adding the prediction side, adding a prediction to their existing system. What's going to allow them is by predicting ahead of time where that person is going and what they're doing exactly on the infrastructure. Are they planning to cross? Are they planning to press the button to cross the street? So we're trying to predict their behavior, and by doing that, we can send an early message signal to the vehicle before even the driver arrives at the scene. So before you arrive at the scene to the crossing area for the pedestrians, you already receiving a signal message that's telling you must prepare to stop because somebody's already planning to cross the street. So this will give you enough time from a driver's perspective to stop the vehicle. So that's the beauty of what we're doing is adding the prediction. Predictions giving much enough time for a driver to stop the vehicle before having like a very late time to start coming close to the point where you start hitting the pedestrian.
That's really incredible. So they might not even be in sight, but the car is slowing down because you know that this person is likely to cross. So we're gonna
because normally pedestrians they are the one who have the right to cross the street, and they expect you to stop for them. So normally, if you drive here in Ann Arbor, you start to notice these people are expecting you to stop because they have the right to cross.
Absolutely.
And if you don't stop, I think you're breaking the law at that point. And from our, what we're doing is, okay, how can we protect these pedestrians from crossing the street? Because there's a lot of accident actually happening in Ann Arbor and in Detroit and different cities. And as I said, our ultimate goal is how can we increase the safety for these pedestrians? Because I am a pedestrian, you are a pedestrian, we are all pedestrians, and we always cross. And our safety is very critical.
Absolutely. Well, that's a really exciting partnership so congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's exciting. So it sounds like you're getting traction, and now so let's talk about fundraising a bit. Now we kind of had a conversation a little bit before the show, and you have some grants that you've accepted, and then so I guess just kind of describe where you're at, what you're looking for, and
so actually I think I would say I'll start talking about the grant. I think grant are a great way to start building maybe to validate your system. So I think that's a great way to start, looking and building your software. From an investor perspective, actually, we're so active in going after investors, and we already spoke with, I would say, many investors that right now we are under discussion with them. We have angel investors, we have VCs investors from Michigan, from California, and we are actually very, very active in this kind of getting investors on board and to help us and build what we're building, because what we're building is something very exciting, and I think this has a high potential that can help to improve the safety for our resident in Michigan, especially. But sometimes, investment, it may take some time. So you have to keep building, your software. You have to keep building your team, and eventually, at the end of the day, you will, find the right investor. And sometimes it's not just only finding just any money. Sometimes you gotta find the smart money. What I mean by smart money, I mean like finding an investor who can help you to build your company, right? From a founder, and for me, from my perspective, I'm not just only looking for any money. I'm looking for a person or a company or a VC who can not just only provide me with money, but also can provide more resources. That money and that resources can help me to build my company. Because my ultimate goal is, how can I build this amazing startup? How can I make this startup, grow faster than anybody out there? How can I cause disruptions in my market? So that's what I'm going after. Finding this right investor, finding the perfect investor who can come on board and help me to build this amazing startup. And I think that's the key for a founder, is you gotta find the key investor, because they're the one who can help you to build your company.
Absolutely. So how much are you guys looking to raise?
Currently, we're actually going after $1.5 million. That's actually our early seed fund that we're going after. And eventually, after that, we're going after seed fund, which is like around, we would say like $6 million. And then Serial A, it goes for over $20 million. So that's actually our vision. That's what we're going after. And we already have good interactions with investors, and hopefully very soon we will close our early seed fund very quick.
Wonderful. And what is something that, as you started fundraising, that you've learned that either surprised you or maybe just helpful for a future founder that can be going through fundraising?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think, I was giving my perspective and based on my experience, and this is actually my first startup. So I give my thoughts on my experience that I've been going through so far. I think one of the most important things before you start a company, I think first is figuring out something that you really believe in. Like if you believe in something that can have an impact on not just only your life, but also the people around you.
Yep.
So I think finding that idea, finding that big problem that everybody's facing, I think that's very important. If I'm struggling in something and you're struggling in something, and I can solve this problem by providing something, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
This piece of information is very important. So I think I would say finding your vision, understanding exactly what you want to do next. Second, I would say our team. If you have an amazing people around you and you have a good team that will help you to build this company, I think this will help you also to get your investment. Because if you have a weak team around you and these team are not helping you to build your company, even if you have the greatest idea, even if you have the best idea out there, and you don't have the right people, it's not easy to find an investor. And investors also really investing in people. They're not just investing in company, and they're not just only investing in software company or a product.
Yeah.
They're truly investing in people because people are the one who's building these amazing products. So I think, yes, having the right team on board is very important. The other thing is, I think once you have the idea, once you have the, kind of start building your product, and once you have the team on board, I would say the third thing is how can you take this product and get it to the market sooner and start maybe helping and improving the life of people or helping solve these problems. I would say, I think going after these three things, it will eventually help you to get investors very soon, because investors looking for a good ideas. They're looking for kind of any company that can cause disruptions to the market.
Yep.
They go after the team, who are the right team, who are the right people who's for this, and also they're going after, is this already in the market? Is this already causing a little bit some disruption to the market? Is this already kind of start building in the market? So these three things are very critical, for an investor perspective. And I said this is from a founder perspective. I think this information is very important to start raising funds.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you sharing that. So we're kind of getting low on time. Before we get into the rapid fire questions, is there anything that you want to make sure that you share with the audience?
Well, I would say, to those who wants to kind of start their own startup, I would say, I think it's always a good idea to always keep believing in what you're doing.
Yep.
I think if you have confidence in what you're doing and you keep going after that, I think that's pretty important. And also, one most important thing is never ever give up. I think since day one, since we started, we have gone through so many obstacles, and we have many obstacles that's coming ahead of time, in the future. And I think, keep believing in what you're doing, and even if you may find some obstacles on the way, even if you may not succeed in so many things, I think as long as you keep going further, I think that's what really, really matter for startups, founders, or any person who really believe in what they're doing. It's never ever give up. Keep doing what you're doing, believing in what you're doing, and I think this will be the key to success.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
So, with that being said, let's hit the rapid fire. So, first question is, what is your best habit?
Well, so my best habit, actually, I always love to travel.
Okay.
That's something that I always want to do. But currently, right now, I'm not traveling that much because of the startup. Currently, right now, I guess focusing on building the startup. But it's always been, a dream of me. How can I continue in exploring many different environments, different locations? Because this sometimes change your life in a better way.
Absolutely.
By exploring many things. So I love traveling. That's something that I love to do. But as I said, currently I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
For the purpose of the startup.
That I definitely understand that. So, the flip side of that question is, what are you bad at, and how are you solving it? So I think that's the more important part of it.
I would say, I'm actually sometimes, I'll say I'm bad at spending more time on things that I always do. Because sometimes when I start working on something, it may take me longer than what it would take you. And the reason why I spend a lot of time in doing stuff, because I always want to make sure that what I'm doing it's the right way.
Yep.
Because sometimes if I start working on building something, as I said, it's required a lot of time, because I always pay attention to these kind of detail and make sure that I want to be able to build something that's really valuable.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you hurry and start building quick, that's kind of the thing that I noticed I'm really bad at, is I take a lot of time in doing something.
Gotcha.
But as I said, the reason for that is because I always want to make sure that what I'm doing is something that is very important and something that has an impact.
And there are worse things to
Correct.
to have as an issue. So, my next question is, what is your advice to a high school graduate, a college graduate, and a 50-year-old?
I'll start talking about, I guess I always go back talk about my experience, because I think this does help, to those who's going through the same path. I think if you are in high school, and I advise you that, of course, school is the way to go. Focus on school. But I would say you better find what's really driving you every single day. I think you gotta find something that really, really making you wake up every single day.
Yeah.
I think these are the new generation. These are the people who will have a better impact on our life, because we're getting older.
Yep.
And I think young generation need to focus on what's something that they really love to do. What is the thing that really, really feel that will make a difference in their life? Sometimes your parents may tell you should not be a doctor.
Yeah.
Maybe your parents will tell you should not be a founder of a company. And I disagree with that. I think you gotta find your way.
Yep.
Because it may work for your dad being a doctor, but it may not work for you being a doctor. So you gotta find your way. And as I said, that's what I did. That's what I tried as much as I could. When I finished high school, I was just planning to just work for a company all my life, and to say I'm gonna just be working in this company. But that's not who I am. I'm not that person. I am a different person.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to build something.
Yeah.
I always have the passion building something, and I think going after that's very critical for a high school person. And if you're at college or at university, I think I would give the same advice. Finish the school as soon as possible. Don't spend so much time at school, because sometimes staying at school, going for a master's degree, PhD, may not get you to where you want to get. Right?
Yeah.
So I think school, don't get me wrong, is important. I love school, but it's not working for me to continue staying at school. For me, I see it as a good way to get your degree, and then going after something that you believe in. And getting the knowledge and getting the education is critical. You cannot go out without knowledge. You cannot go explore and finding new things if you don't have the education. So education is the key, but what I'm trying to say is don't spend so much time at school if it's not working out for you, if you cannot be very good in that. Because you want to get your education, and you want to go take the education and apply it on something that will help you and achieve success.
And then the 50-year-old.
Well, that's a tough one. So for 50 years old, keep watching your parents, what they're doing, and I think, your parents will give you good directions and learning from their, because sometimes the parents have a good understanding. Since if you're a child and you may not know when you grow up, how you can be a person and the person that you really want to be. Sometimes watching your parents and learning from your parents is the key, and also learning from others people as well and around you. That will kind of build kind of strong personality once you grow up.
Perfect. My next question is, who has been the kindest person in your life?
Well, I mean, I would say, I mean, of course, I would not, you know, I would say my mom has always been supporting me since I was a kid. I mean, I think I give a lot of credit for my mom. I mean, I think everybody should give a credit for their mom because they're the one who's always, kind to you. They're the one who's always supporting you in everything. My dad is a great person, but he's tough. He's teaching me to be a tough person. So a kind person can become from a mom because mom is normally teaching us how to always be nice people, to be a nice person, always to give back to the community, always do good stuff for your community. Your dad will teach you how to be strong man, to go always out there and keep fighting and never give up. I think that's a good combination is having kindness from your mom and from your dad. And also my girlfriend she's been always supporting me since day one. I think finding the right people around you is always important, but not just only finding anybody. You gotta find the right people who really support you. And I would like to add into that. I would like to thank everyone and every person here in Ann Arbor who's supporting any startups, because I think without the help of our community, I think we will never be successful.
Absolutely.
And I think having our community around us and helping us and building something, because we need people who believing in what we're doing.
Yes.
And I think this is very important that we as a startup, founders, we need the support from our community. And today we need your support. Tomorrow we will support you again. We will give back. So we take from you today, we give it back tomorrow, and that's how it always works. So there's a lot of organization here in Michigan that who are really supporting these companies. I know I kind of went back kind of in a different direction to answer your questions, but I just want to point out that yes, finding people around you who can help you and support you is very important.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point. I totally agree. Glad you said it. So, last question is, what is a question that I should ask all of my guests?
Well, I would say, how did you start it? What get you to what you are today? What is the obstacles that along that way that you've been facing? And I would say that probably that question I would ask because I think from an audience perspective, they want to learn, right? Yep. This is a learning process for them. It's not just only watching, it's also learning. They want to learn from others. So I think is understanding what every person has been through, and what is the mistake they made, and how did they overcome through these kind of mistakes. Because everybody make mistakes. I do make mistakes. You do make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. Yep. So I think the key to this is learning from these mistakes. So I would ask, what is the mistake you have done during this career, and how would you overcome these obstacles? How did you do it? Yep. And what did you learn from these kind of mistakes? So that's what I would ask probably to founders.
Well, let's answer your question.
Well, for me, I would say it took me kind of longer to find the team. Okay. Because sometimes, when you start a company, sometimes you may not find the right people. Sometimes you might find somebody who might be interested in what you're doing, but may not support you along the way. So I kind of kept looking around, and it took me longer to find the right team to help me in this company. But sometimes I would say, learning from that, I would say to any founders out there, you gotta try as much as you can to find the right people as soon as possible. Yeah. Don't wait too long, because if you wait longer, it's causing you time, it's causing you money, and it's not helping. Your startup is not helping you at all. So you gotta find the right people, the right team as soon as possible, especially if you don't have money to pay these people. Yep. Because as a startup, you want to find a person who's gonna come work with you for free. Yeah. And he's gonna get an equity in the company, but he's gonna support you in building the startup. But I think finding the right people as soon as possible is very important. You have to find these people. And also, I think I would say another advice for founders is don't focus, if you're in the beginning, don't focus on investors. I think you're gonna waste time focusing on investors. Yeah. I think if I would go back a year and a half ago, I would not look and start talking to investors.
Gotcha.
I will start just building my company. I'll
Yep.
start building my team. I will start looking for a grant. Grant are also really good to start building your company.
Yeah.
Because if you start looking for investors, you're not ready to get investment at this time.
Yeah.
You gotta find some funding that you can get from the state of Michigan, funding from the government. There's a lot of funding that is coming in that can help to build your company. And eventually, once you continue building these things, eventually investors will come and knock on your door.
Absolutely.
And say, I want to invest. So, yes, there is a lot of mistakes that we always make, and this is just the beginning for me to make mistakes. So there's a lot of mistakes that we will be making along the way. But I think the most important thing is you make a mistake today, you get a learn.
Yep.
And then you can move on and never make that mistake again. Because if you can make that mistake again, you're just wasting time.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So, I really want to thank you for being on the podcast. So, to the audience out there, please go to intvo.com, intvo.com. That'll be in the show notes. All of Assam's contact information will be there as well. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube to the Startup 360 podcast. Share with your friends. If you are a startup and you want to be on the podcast, please reach out. And until next time, thank you for watching.
Thank you guys.